What's up, guys? Welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding. And in bodybuilding, one nutrient is very important to have in your diet for optimal gains, performance, well-being, and feeling energetic. And that is, very simply put, sodium. And I'm going to talk in this video about not only sodium, but the actual salt where it comes in, pink Himalayan salt. This one right here. So, let's delve into this. Now, why am I making this video in the first place? I'm right now about 10-11 weeks out from the Mr. Olympia Classic Physique. And usually during a contest prep, your carbs go down lower and lower and your energy levels start to deplete. Now, lots of people, lots of bodybuilders also at the same time lower their salt intake automatically. And that, in my opinion, is a great mistake. They start to feel tired, they start to feel depleted, they are flat, they don't get a pump in a gym. And I think it's because of the carbohydrates. And it's logical to think this because when you take in carbs, at least 3 grams of water with the carb will be stored inside the muscle cell, causing that fluid retention intracellularly, so inside the muscle cell, causing it to swell and getting a very good pump and just a full muscle. So naturally, if you lose the carb, if you lose the glycogen from the muscle, your muscle will get flatter. Yes, that is true. But then I ask and wonder, why at the same time would you also deplete salt? What you want to do is to maximize intracellular hydration, which in simple terms means get as much hydration, water inside the muscle cell as you can. Because the bigger it is, the more growth susceptible it will become, it will stay, and the less actually gains you will lose during the entire prep. Because if you're flat all the time, if you're weak all the time, if you don't get a pump, you simply get a lot less growth factors and a lot less signaling to the muscle, to the brain to make it grow. Because if you're weaker in the gym, you lift less weights, that's not going to be good for muscle gain. So it's a cascade of things that can happen if you don't properly hydrate your muscle cells. There's also creatine, for example. A lot of people drop out. Well, you should keep it in at 0.1 grams per kilo of body weight, by the way. I made another video about that, but that's not what's going to be discussed here. We are going to talk about this right here. So, intra-workout nutrition. Some bodybuilders, especially in the off-season, like to put their EAAs in there, their maltodextrin or on other carb source, like 30 to 60, even 90 grams that they drink intra-workout. I'm not a big fan of the carbs, except on a leg day, for example. I like to put in 30 grams just to give myself a little oomph in the workout, especially in the latter phase of the workout when you have already done 2 big compounds with the filler multiple times. You do need some form of extra energy to keep you going. But in most workouts, I simply don't need it. And why is that? Because I add this into my intra-workout drink. So this obviously is just a container containing a lot of salt. What I do is I put this in a salt grinder, grind 3 or 4 times in my shaker cup. It's about 1 liter that I drink during the workout. Well, at least I put the salt in 1 liter. Might actually refill the bottle then near the end of the workout. But anyway, I put 3 to 4 grinds of Himalayan salt in there, and that allows my body to take up the sodium during the workout to keep hydrating the muscle. Because we all know what happens when you work out hard. What happens? We sweat. And sweat, it's moist, it's water. But it's not just that. We also lose minerals or electrolytes through our sweat. Number 1 is sodium. This can vary from like 500 milligrams to 3 grams. It differs to, in between a lot of people. You have a lot of different ranges of how much sodium is present in the sweat. But not only sodium is there's also potassium, magnesium, chloride, calcium, and a host of other minerals that are lost through the sweat. Sodium is one factor. All of the other minerals also count in keeping everything balanced and keeping your performance as high as possible. This is not just sodium. This has a color. The color stands for the other minerals that are also present in the salt. So we all know that table salt, that is pure white. Usually white stuff like sugar or table salt is devoid of anything else but that one compound. And in this case it will be sodium chloride to be exact. However, this contains over 50 minerals. And the color is given off by those minerals. So, obviously it's not the exact composition of what sweat composition you would lose, but it's still better than only taking salt, because then you will, have an intake in one, but the rest will keep depleting at the maximum rate, and that's not going to be good for the balancing act that the minerals and electrolytes have to do in the muscle, which can actually promote cramps if sodium is not the main cause, but potassium is. So sometimes Himalayan salt will, in my opinion, will always be better than regular salt. Table salt, I put it in all my meals. I put it in my pre-workout shake to already pre-fuel my body with the minerals, with the salt, and also during the workout. So what I do before the workout, also 3 to 4 grinds in my pre-workout meal. During the workout, 3 to 4 grinds, and in my post-workout meal, also 3 to 4 grinds of the Himalayan pink salt. Now, if you calculate, for example, if you do lose 1,000 milligrams of sodium in your workout, you have to multiply this by 2.5 to get to the amount of salt.
Hold on, so what I was trying to say is that if you lose 1,000 milligrams of sodium, you would need to replenish it by 2.5 grams of table salt to get 1,000 milligrams of sodium. Because remember, table salt is sodium and chloride combined. So it's sodium chloride, which is heavier than sodium itself. So that's why you have to multiply by 2.5 to get to the actual amount of salt you need to replenish the amount of sodium. For example, in this one, 1,000 milligrams, you would need 2.5 grams of table salt.
You lost, okay? Because sodium is always bound up with another molecule, and usually it's chloride to make it stable, to allow your body to actually absorb it properly and to be used in stuff like this. So it's not actually one big chunk. So you have to multiply it by 2.5, and that means if you lose 1,000 milligrams, you actually lost 2.5 grams of salt. Now you have to do quite a lot of grinds before the 2.5 grams appears on the scale. So don't be afraid of overdoing it. So you might want to start with 1 or 2 grinds, and if you worry about the taste of the water, you don't have to worry at all, because in my opinion the flavor doesn't change. In fact, if your body tells you, or if your body is deficient in sodium or other minerals, it'll actually change the way that salt water would taste to make it taste better. So you're more likely to drink it to rebalance and replenish everything again. So that's why when I, for example, add salt on a meal for my girlfriend, she thinks it's way too salty. And when I add it, I think it's bland. It really has to do with how much salt your body needs, and in accordance to that, your taste buds will actually change how they feel about that amount of salt in a meal, which is a very interesting fact for sure. And back in the day, when they had no fridge or any other ways of preserving the food, they always preserved the meats and the fish with rubbing them with salt so no bacteria could actually infect them. And so they were used to actually intaking a whole lot of salt. Now, another point people will bring up is blood pressure. What will it do to blood pressure? Will it not increase blood pressure if you add salt to every single meal and intra-workout? Well, that is the exception to the rule. So a lot of guidelines tell you that if you eat too much sodium, if you eat too much salt, that your blood pressure will rise. But that is the case for some people, but not for most people. So if you know that in your family high blood pressure is prevalent, or if you know you already suffer from high blood pressure and you're already trying to address it, then maybe adding the salt extra on top of what you're already eating would not be the best idea. But if you don't have any problem with blood pressure at all, I would actually advise you to add the salt, because as I mentioned at the beginning, especially when you're cutting, you start to feel depleted, you start to feel less energetic. Adding this salt, especially in your pre-workout shake or intra-workout, it'll grant you new power, new energy to use in the workout. It will motivate you because you will see, boom, all the muscles will be pumped up again. And you don't need the carbs for this, because the less carbs you take, the more sodium you need for the muscle to be properly hydrated. So it's all about the hydration of the muscle cell. And as I said, you know you're taking in too much sodium if the water tastes horrible, if the meal tastes way too salty. That's your body telling you, hey, this is too much salt for what I already have in my body. Don't consume this because it's too much. So start out with 1 or 2 grinds. I personally do 3 or 4 grinds. It just still tastes pretty good. Tastes pretty much like mineral water you would buy in a grocery store. So this has been my savior throughout the last prep, the Romania Pro, which I won. I used salt up until until I was right before going on stage, actually. Just the day before, I lowered it to be able to get rid of some extra water, because as we all know, salt holds water, but mostly inside the muscle cells, so not under the skin. But when you're doing a contest prep, the 1% details matter, so I just wanted to try it out to see if it made a difference. And then right before going on stage, the hours before, I added salt back in to actually get a pump. The mistake I made at the Arnold Classic last year in March is that I didn't take any salt. And no matter how many push-ups I did, no matter how many bicep curls I did backstage, I couldn't get a pump. Yes, I was very dry, I was very conditioned, but without a pump, especially at my height, I just look flat. I don't look as muscular as I actually am. So this to me has been a savior for a long time now, and it's been improving my game in the gym for sure. No matter how little my carbs are in the day, if I still have that salt in the meals, I'll be fine in terms of the pump, in terms of my energy, because trust me, sometimes it's not the carbs. The limiting factor is the amount of sodium in your body. If you deplete yourself, as a bodybuilder, we drink a lot of water, and if you drink a lot of water and don't take in the sodium, what are you doing? You're essentially filtering out, because every time you pee, you filter out the sodium, the other minerals, and you're left with less and less inside of your body. And sodium is needed for every muscle contraction. So without it, you will actually get cramps, you will feel less energetic, etc. I'm repeating myself, but that's because I'm passionate about nutrition. So I hope you learned something about this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And remember, just try it out. Start out with a low dose intra-workout and pre-workout. Let me know if your pump has increased. Let me know if you feel better, if your performance has increased. And if it did, well, I'm very glad, because I know that for most people, it certainly will. Anyway, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. And don't forget to stay golden.